Barnes & Noble Union Square, please give a warm welcome to best-selling author Agustina Bazterrica and Poured Over host Jenna Seery.
Hello, friends. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm so excited to be here and to be able to talk about this amazing book. So, like we said, I'm Jenna Seery. I am the co-host of Poured Over, and tonight I am so excited to be joined by Agustina Bazterrica, who is the author of a little book you may have heard of called Tender is the Flesh. But tonight, yes, that's the correct response. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Unworthy, which the first time I read it, I got lost in it. I remember just falling into this world and wanting so quickly to get to the end to know what was going to happen, but knowing that I probably wasn't going to like what I found when I got there, and yet still having an experience that I think was very beautiful. So thank you so much for being here to talk about this book.
No, thank you. And first of all, I want to thank Barnes & Noble for doing this possible, and my publishing house, Scribner. Thank you so much. And for all of you for coming today. I was saying, Jenna, that I really love New York. Like, it's one of the best cities in the world. So when yesterday I was in Washington, and when I get off the train, I saw the buildings, and I felt like something on my chest, and I was like, yes, New York, I love it. So for me, it's a really a pleasure to be here. And sorry for my English. So there is someone here that speaks Spanish, español? Okay, so if I don't, maybe sometimes I forget words, really simple words. If I don't know, you can tell me, okay? Thank you.
Yes, we're open to all languages here. Whatever happens, it happens.
Great.
So I think I want to start with this book because it is there's just so many layers, there's so much here. And I think everyone brings something different to this story as they read it. But I'd want to start with how this story started for you.
Okay. I was in 2018, I was invited to Cusco, to Peru, to the book fair. And since I studied art history in the University of Buenos Aires, of course, I love art. And if I go to a city, I try to go to museums. Of course, here I'm going to go to all the museums again. But there I was in a museum that used to be a monastery, but now is a museum. And I was the only tourist looking at this type of art that is really particular. It's called, it's Cusqueñan art, but there is a type of iconography that are called in Spanish, ángeles arcabuceros. They're angels with arquebuses, these old firearms, which I love them. And I was looking at this picture alone. I was the only tourist. And I turned around and I saw a nun praying. And this was a museum. It wasn't a monastery anymore. So I almost died of a heart attack when I saw the nun. But then I got near the nun, and it was a mannequin. It was worse, even. It was sinister. So when I got out of the museum, I thought I have to write about nuns. Because I went in Buenos Aires, I studied in a nun school run by German nuns. And if you have read the novel, you will understand pretty quickly that I had a really bad time there. So the thing with literature and art, in my opinion, is that it's not only my opinion. This was said by Jorge Luis Borges, that he's the best writer in my country, and I guess also it's really famous in the world. He said that there's nothing original, like all the themes are written, but what could be perceived as original is the way you're going to tell the story. So for me to think about the way I'm going to tell the story can take months or years, because I thought of the idea in 2018 and I started writing this novel in 2020. So I I need to get like pieces, important pieces for me to write, to know how to write the story, how to tell the story. So I read a really important essay for this novel that it's called Caliban and the Witch by Silvia Federici. I don't know if you know her, but she lives here in the United States. And she wrote, she made an analysis of why during centuries women were burned alive, being accused of being witches. Spoiler alert, capitalism, you know, because they needed women to just stay in their houses and have kids because they needed cheap, how you say, cheap labor? No, mano de obra? Labor, thank you, cheap labor. So that book was really important, and another book, another essay, it's Silent Spring from Rachel Carson. She's also from here from the United States, and she analyzed how pesticide works, and also, spoiler alert, they kill everything. So that is why the title of the book is Silent Spring, because of pesticides, you don't have animals or insects. So with those two essays, I could start thinking about the novel and how I wanted to tell the story.
I love hearing all the pieces that come together to create this, because you may, see these disparate pieces that, of course, they make sense when you know what's going in, but all of this inspiration comes together, and I think you really feel all of these different pieces in the voice of the narrator. We understand this world through her eyes and through what's going on and how she is reacting, and yet in many ways we know so very little about her and about her experience until each piece is sort of revealed. And I won't get too spoilery and go so in depth, though we have had time to read the book. But I think each time we learned something more about her, it felt like another puzzle piece clicking into place. And I wonder, the same way of how you've crafted this story, what it felt like to craft this character.
Well, sometimes, like I write sometimes with my body and with my intuition. So the first image for this book was the image of, I will spoil a little bit, but it's not that much, of the women in the Chapel of Ascension, I guess is the translation, with their eyes saw and the blood running down. So maybe I have images that are, for me, more like poetry. I read a lot of poetry also. And then I need to build the world, So maybe I start with an image and it's too hermetic. So I need to build the world around that. But also with the narrator, she's a first-person narrator writing a clandestine diary. I started writing it and I felt that it worked, but I felt it with my body, like when I felt it, I felt in my body, I say, okay, this is working. So, and I think that what allows me, that narrator, is, yes, to demand the reader to be an active reader, So I will love the readers to think about why she's, for example, crossing out words and what are they symbolizing. Because maybe you can think that they are symbolizing their bodies that are mutilating, You can make that relation. Or why, for example, all along the book you have a lot of circles. What are they mean? I won't tell. Because I have like my own view, but my view is not the correct or the only view, because I need readers to have their own view, and of course I will respect their view if they can explain it with the book, So that is the way I work. There are a lot of symbols, and everything is symbolizing something else. Everything is talking about something else. For example, the cockroach in the beginning of the book, they're symbolizing something, you know? Every insect is symbolizing something. So when I write, it's like I'm sewing, you say, cosiendo, yeah? Sewing, no. Sewing es el abogado que... The lawyer is sewing. No, this is sewing. Okay, like I'm sewing every word, you know? And sometimes I think of a word like for hours, because for me it's not only important the meaning of the word, but also the sound of the word. And also that it has other meanings, you know? So yeah, it's a lot of work. That is why I don't have so many books published.
Right. This is a process, and I think I speak for everyone here when we appreciate it. And I think one of my favorite things about reading your work is how active I have to be as the reader. I can't just pop it open and, you know, you're not going to do the work for me to get to the end of the book. I think if there's so much in reading and the story that you can have a really enjoyable time just going through. But for someone like me, my favorite thing to do is to like dig in to a book, and I'm Googling things, and I'm looking up the names of all the authors that you mention, and I am going full into looking at art, because I can't, once it's in my head, I can't get out. And I think that that's something so beautiful about this kind of writing, is that there is so much to be discovered as you go through. And that's one of my favorite things.
Well, I think with the authors, there's a part where the narrator, she writes her favorite authors because they're their friends. And I don't know if you noticed, but you have women, 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 one man, women, women, women. And that has to do with the structure of the cult. They're all women and one man. And also in the quotes, you have a quote of a woman, a quote of a man, a quote of a woman. So the same structure, you have it here inside of the book also. So I love to do those little details that some readers will, I don't know, understand and some no.
And you always mention, I know we share an author that we both love so much, who is Clarice Lispector.
Yes.
And anytime anybody mentions her in a book, I'm like, I think you should read this.
Yes. Yes, because, well, with Clarice Lispector, she was a Brazilian author. And, for example, she has a novel that is called something GH.
Oh, The Passion According to GH.
Yeah, thank you. The Passion of GH. It's a novel that the story, it's only a woman getting inside a room. She sees a cockroach, and she kills the cockroach, and that is the plot. But the novel is so amazing, it's so big. Every phrase, it's like, it's so profound that you really have to be active there, you know?
I think that novel changed the way I read. And so if anyone hasn't picked that up yet, I recommend it fully, because that is the kind of thing where it is like before and after reading. And there are moments in The Unworthy, that felt like that as well. When I started to understand really what was happening and to understand the way that this narrator feels. I think for me, realizing that this was, for me at least, a novel about love.
Yes, thank you.
That changed the entire, it didn't quite hit me until the second time I read it, but going through and being like, oh, this is a love story.
Yeah.
It was like a switch flipped in my brain.
Yes, I always say that although the word love is never written in the novel, it is about love, but not only about romantic love, but love as an energy, because I don't believe in religions. If you read the book, you will realize that also. But I do believe that there is something that created everything. You can call it God, goddess, or whatever, or energy, or mystery, and that we are all detachments of that energy, not only humans, but animals and also nature. And when we connect to each other with we are empathic to each other, to humans, animals, and nature, we are connected to that energy. We are connecting to God, if you want to say it like that. So in this case, you have everything. You have relationships with humans, animals, and nature, because you have the woods there. So yeah, I try to work with that.
And it comes through. I think the pieces in this story about nature and animals are so interesting. I mean, particularly, there's a great cat scenario, and who doesn't love a good cat in a book? Yes. But also just the paradox of how enclosed this book can feel and how expansive at the same time because of that connection to nature, because you always know there's a current of this is the whole world, and it is also this tiny space. And watching these characters navigate that, it's so propulsive.
Well, thank you. I don't know what to say, but I try to work also with the idea of where is the sacred thing, sagrado is sacred. I never know how to pronounce that. Sacred? Okay, thank you. Because, of course, this protagonist, she's in a cult, and they tell her that the sacred is in the God that they pray to, and this God should keep all the contamination out. But at the same time, she's always wondering, what is that God? And my reading, my hypothesis is that the sacred thing is in the act of writing, in nature, in the animal that is a cat, Circe, and in the relationship between humans, you know? And it's amazing because when I finished writing this book, and this book was published in Argentina in 2023, I read a book, I don't know if you know Reinaldo Arenas. He was a Cuban writer, and he was gay, and he was persecuted by Fidel Castro in Cuba, and he was incarcerated, and he wrote a book when he could escape from Cuba that is called, in Spanish, Antes que anochezca, in English, Before Dawn, I guess. And it's a testimony, and in that book, he talks about this, about how literature saved him, because even when he was persecuted, he kept on writing, and he even hid his novels with friends or down the ceiling of houses. Like, it's crazy. So I thought about the book, and I thought about this narrator, like, she's not alive, but they have similarities with what happened with Reinaldo Arenas.
And the idea, too, of how important this writing is, that she's often doing it with her own blood. It is that this writing is truly not just from her, but of her. Like, this is her existence. Because in these ways, you know, we think in these times of, you know, catastrophe beyond what we can imagine, words may be all we have. Yes. And for these characters, and for this character, I guess in particular, words are all she has to feel real, to feel any sort of connection for most of her time. And I think that that really strikes all of us. You know, if you're a reader, if you're a writer, you feel that.
Yes, because the oppression that hopefully you will feel if you read the book is the same oppression that I felt in the nun school, because yes, you laugh, but it was like that. And who here went to a nun school? So do you agree? Okay. So what nuns did in my school was that they created this panoptic view. So all the students, we were all women, we controlled each other. The professors, all women, control us. The nuns, women, control us. And the priests, only men, control us. And when you go back home during the day, you got home, you were controlled by God. So you didn't have any escape, and you were always perceived as an unworthy and as slut, because they were really concerned about your virginity. So that oppression, it was really hard to live. So literature for me when I was at school was really important, and they didn't give us great books at a nun school, we didn't read diversity, we didn't talk with authors, but I read when I went home, So for me, literature was like a salvation.
And I think that for so many of us, we've experienced that. We know what that feels like. And I know as I was reading, I was like, that was such a great connector for me in this character, because to watch this world that she is in, I think in some ways it felt similar to Tender is the Flesh, in that we're reading these stories of what I guess you could call extreme beliefs, and watching the ways you have to accept and push against. And they both have that same connection of there will be people who will always do the thing, whatever it is, and there will always be someone who doesn't fit that. And to watch how that combats and how that interacts, these are these big moments in literature and in our societies that I think are why stories get told.
Yes, it's like in our reality, for example, why we're still in this system of patriarchy, why I have to explain, I don't want men to kill me and to rape me and to kill me. I don't want that. It's so basic, and we have to still explain. And there are people that exist that they're justifying that, So why do we believe in that? That is my question. Not only the extreme cases of cults where people are convinced of the most bizarre things, but the basic things of life. I don't want a man to kill me and to rape me and kill me and to throw me into the desert, it is happening right now in Ciudad Juárez in Mexico, for example. I don't want men, like it happens in Italy, to share in a group of Facebook with 37,000 members photos of their wives and their girlfriends. I don't want what is happening in Germany with a group of also men, 70,000 men, sharing tips of how to drug and rape women. Come on, it's so basic, but it isn't, because we're still in this system.
And there are all of these moments in which we find connection and understanding through literature and through being able to read stories that we feel connected to. And maybe like we talked about whether or not some of these stories are horror stories. I mean, in the US, we consider your work horror novels, and I think there are so many horrifying things about them, and yet so often those genre stories, horror or mystery or thriller, that's where we find so much empathy for the world that we live in.
Yes, I always say that I don't write horror because, for example, in Argentina, my novels are considered dystopias or some people, they qualify them as ecofeminist or as social novels. I don't know. Like, I think that I mixed all genders, and for example, the novel that I'm writing right now, it's 100% Argentinian. It takes place in Buenos Aires, and it's not horror at all. Like, there is an extreme situation, but my husband read it and he started laughing a lot, you know, because I use all the slang that we use in Argentina and all the insults, and some of them are really funny. And maybe I can say one. I said this in Washington, and people were like, she is saying an insult. Like, there is an insult in Argentina that it's la concha de la lora. So in English, the translation is almost impossible. It's like the pussy of the parrot. Like, it doesn't have the same sound and like the same meaning, but in Argentina it's really common, and we have a lot of insults like that. So the new novel, it will be really difficult to translate, I guess, but with each book, I need to go on a different search, you know? So, for example, here you don't have one insult. There is no insults at all. And the new novel, it's full of them. So the way that I'm writing each story, it's telling something else, you know? So the poetry here is telling something. The way I wrote Tender is the Flesh with these really short phrases, they're trying to hurt the reader. Here, they're trying to envolver? No. Enveloped?
Yes.
Enveloped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Enveloped the reader with poetry. And the new novel, I won't tell, but I'm also trying to say something with those insults, you know?
I can't wait. I mean,
I hope they translate it. I don't know. Maybe my translator will try to kill me because it will be really difficult.
I think we'll all just learn Spanish and we'll read it in Spanish.
Yes, you will.
I love the idea of work in translation in general, because I do think translation is also an art, and I think that it creates it like each book gets another life in a way, because we have this original text, which is beautiful and has its own tone, its own soul. And then in translation, we often find there's something else there too, and it's going to connect in a different way with different readers. And I love the idea that we get to have it all, that we get to have these things.
Yeah, and I can tell you this. With Sarah Moses is the translator of Tender is the Flesh, 19 Claws on a Blackbird, and The Unworthy. And I gave Sarah the draft of The Unworthy because I wanted her to read the first draft and to tell me what she thought. So I really, I think that she's a really lucid reader. And I don't do this with everyone. Like, I chose Sarah to read it. So for me, the relationship we have is really important.
I can't imagine turning over your work and saying, okay, change it. I mean...
No, I mean, for me, it's really important to have new eyes.
Yes.
Like, for example, my husband, of course, he reads, and he's like... He asked me the questions that nobody asked me. My sister, she reads and she says, this is shit, or this is amazing, or this is whatever, you know? Like, if she says, like, for example, with the new novel I'm writing now, she said, I read it in 3 hours, I need the second part, why are you not writing the second part? And I said, okay, this is great, you know?
Yes.
But and recently I gave her a short story with, I think it was really bad, and she told me, yes, it's really bad. But she helped me to think how to correct the short story. So for me, it's really important to have these readers that I confine them in them. So yeah.
I think we always need someone to say, this is good or this is bad.
Yeah, of course. Because, I mean, I think that every writer and every artist and every human, but especially artists and writers, we have to work a lot with our egos. And I think if you have a great ego, your work, maybe it would suffer, you know?
And I think it just helps to have, I mean, before it goes out into the world, especially when you spend years and years and years writing something. But in this book, there are so many, I mean, I imagine the way our narrator is writing and just writing as an act of desperation, because she, of course, doesn't know if anyone will ever possibly put their eyes to it, ever possibly see it. And I think, like, in a way, that's got to be kind of a freeing experience, too, to just be able to write and to not know what's going to happen with it.
Of course, yes. You never know what is going to happen with a book. Like, for example, when I was writing Tender is the Flesh, I, of course, never imagined that I will be here in New York talking to you. The book is taught in a lot of schools in Argentina. I, at this point, went to talk to almost 100 schools because the last students, like 16, 17 years old, they read the book. So I never thought that was what is going to happen with the book. I just wrote it and I finished it 10 days before giving the manuscript for the Clarín contest. And I thought, of course, I'm not going to win this contest because it's one of the most important prizes in Latin America, but I won. So I never thought that anything was going to happen because I don't write with that in mind, because I think that, I'm in a search with each book, and there will be people that maybe will love it, and there will be people that will hate it. You know, and you cannot conform everyone. So I just try to stay true to myself, and what happened will happen, you know. But, you know, with each book, I give everything. There is an example of what happened with Tender is the Flesh that I always tell it in schools, and students generally laugh. I don't know if to tell it now. Okay. There is a sex scene in Tender is the Flesh. I don't know the people that read it. It took me 3 pages to write it. It's not that much, 3 pages. But I read 5 books because I wanted to know how to name the penis. Because you have a lot of ways of naming it, in English, of course, and in Spanish, of course. And I wanted to find the perfect word. So I read these 5 books only to get to the conclusion that I won't write the word. You know, but that is a really big decision also. So for me, in every book, each word really counts. Like I think a lot of each word. So when people come and say, I read your book in 3 hours, I tell them, please read it again. Like, come on, it took me like 3 years to write this book.
You're like, we got to start at you missed it, I promise. I think that's, I mean, I have read The Unworthy now 3 times.
Oh, thank you so much.
Because I needed to spiritually. And I definitely had a different experience every time. And I think that is something so perfect about reading, that you get to have that. I think I love movies, I love TV, I love all of that. But there is something in those art forms that tells you how to watch it, that tells you this is the thing. But when you're reading, you get to bring your own soul into it. And I think that having that, for me, that is communion. That is the ultimate act of community, is to be able to read and to understand, especially reading authors from countries that I have never visited and may never visit, or in time periods that I have never lived, or in cults that I really hope I never encounter. Because I like my eyeballs open. Yeah. But having those connections, even if it's something as simple as being like, I would also love that cat.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, the thing for me with literature is that when I read a book and when I write it, I want not only... I always go beyond the plot, you know? Like, for example, if a writer repeats a lot of word, I will mark the word and I will try to understand why this is happening and the meaning of that. What happened to me recently is that I was talking with, I don't know if you know him, Stephen Graham Jones. He wrote The Only Good Indians. I was talking with him in Washington, and he's really funny, so amazing. And I start analyzing his book, all the characters, how the women die in his book, what about the men, the symbol of the deer, and he said, no, I never thought about that. Like, no. I just wanted to write a horror book. I was like, well, but that is in your book also, you know, because that is my reading and I can explain it with your book on hand. So I do that with every book, and it's true that some books, they don't permit you to analyze more because they're only plot, and that is okay. But with my books, every word that it's repeated, it has a why, you know? So I love when readers, they find things that I never thought about. Like, for example, with The Unworthy, there is a character that it's called, I don't know the translation in English, the sister, the superior sister, that is really bad. And a friend of mine told me, it reminded me to the, how you say it in English? Condesa Sangrienta. She was a character. She lived. The Condesa Sangrienta, no? Bloody Countess, yeah, thank you. Because there is a book written by a French writer that is called, in Spanish, La Condesa Sangrienta, but in English, I don't know, Bloody Countess, maybe.
Is it Elizabeth Bathory?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So in English, it's Bloody Countess?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
So the author is Penrose. I remember this, Penrose. And this person existed, actually, and she was a countess, and she killed almost 600 girls because she thought that the blood will make her younger. Mm-hmm. So this friend related this character of mine with that character, and I never thought about that, but I really studied the Blood Countess because I gave, how you say, talks, whatever. So I had that in my unconscious. So you never know the relations that readers will make, and that is fascinating.
Yes. Speaking of, I want to end on one of my favorite questions.
Okay.
Because we are booksellers in the bookstore, and we've touched on this a little bit, but I'd love to talk about some of your literary influences and favorite authors.
Yes, of course. Well, I have a lot because what I do is I study the authors that I really think that they did something amazing. And well, my favorite author in Argentina, it's called Juan José Saer. And I study his work. Like if I read a novel, I need to reread it and to understand how he did that. But also, of course, Clarice Lispector is one of the authors that I study. From here, from your country, from United States, I have a lot. Shirley Jackson, I love her. Stephen King, he's amazing. Toni Morrison, she's like the best. John Tiver, I love the short stories. Flannery O'Connor, oh my God. William Faulkner, also amazing. Jamaica Kincaid, although she was born in Barbados, she lives here, and she also is amazing. The book Autobiografía de mi madre, okay, thank you. The Autobiography of My Mother is an amazing book. And from other countries, I don't know. From Argentina, Borges and Cortázar are the two pillars in our literature. But I have like a lot.
I mean, of course, I'm sure for all of us, we could sit and talk about our favorite books all day. And I think that that's something we all share, is like when I read your work and I see you mention authors, I go and look them up.
Oh, thank you. Well, there is an author I want to wait. My cell phone, because of course I don't remember. I'm reading the book right now. I don't have it here. I left it at the hotel, but she's from United States, and I don't know why I named this book and people don't know about this book, and I don't know why. The name is, she's named Anne de Marken, and the name of the book is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over. Do you know about her? No? From your stories. Sorry? From your stories. Yeah, you saw that? Okay, I mean, it's amazing. The character is a zombie girl, and it's so poetic and so amazing that I read only 30 pages yesterday in Washington, and I was blown away, and I recommended the book in my Instagram, like, you have to read this, although I didn't finish it, and now I'm in more or less the page 100, and it's still amazing. So yeah, this book you should read. It lasts forever and then it's over. Amazing.
I think we now all have our homework for the next time that we're all together. We will have read the book. It's an impromptu book club. So thank you so much, Agustina, for being here and for talking about The Unworthy. This book is very special, and I think that we will be talking about it for years to come. And we will all, I'm sure, wait very, very patiently for all of the insults that are to come in the new one. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. And let's have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Poured Over is a Barnes & Noble production. To help other readers find us, please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.